And like, I don't know if this is recording or not, but just in case anybody's wondering, I'm just like a rock star trapped in a fat guy's body. So we're just gonna, we're gonna go with it. I'll probably have a harder stroke on stage, but if that's the way I go out, I'll be happy. All right, so I'm Hank. My name's Hank Singleton. Coming to a town near you, goddammit. But we're out here shooting music videos, getting content, hanging with the boys, just trying to get everything wrapped up for this first release and introduce me to you guys and introduce my music to you guys and hope that we can all relate. I started writing songs in 2018 when I found out I was having my daughter. And then I had another buddy that done some music and stuff, and I asked him a few times to introduce me to a producer. And he introduced me to my buddy Kev, and we done bank fishing that first night. It was the first song I ever recorded. And that song has opened up, the very first recording, like the scratch demo of it, has opened every door that's been opened in my music career. The very first song, my very first night in the studio, it made me fall in love with recording music. It's old to me, and I'm so tired of hearing the damn song. But everybody else is like, it's the reason that I'm with the management team I'm with now. I've had multiple people reach out to me to write and to work with me that I had no business working with. But that it was all God, you know what I mean, for one. And I was just very blessed, very lucky. So I guess it's my favorite because it's actively changing my life. But I think the stuff that we're writing now, because I'm older and more mature, is more what I'm trying to say.
Like to feel like a real chill, laid back guy, doing 40 and a 50, got smoke in my eyes. Sometimes I gotta unwind, throw it to the floor, let some horses run wild.
I run a construction company, first and foremost. But in 2018, I found out I was having my oldest daughter, started writing music, and I was like, I used to play football and stuff, so when I found out I was having kids, I was like, I need to have something to work towards, a goal to work towards, to show my kids that, one, it's okay to work towards a goal, two, to give it everything you've got, and three, just not listen to anybody tell you not to, that if it's what you want to do and it's what you love, to just do it. And so in 2018, I started writing songs and stuff, all that, and I had a good buddy of mine that I grew up and went to school with that was in like the rap side of the music industry, and he was working with a producer and stuff, and I asked him multiple times to introduce me to somebody that was showing him lyrics and this, that, and the other. And finally he introduced me to this guy named, he goes by Sonic, but I call him Kev. He's one of my best friends. And January of 2020, right before COVID, I went to Kev's studio and he asked me to show him a few things that I had written, and one of them was bank fishing. And we went and we started recording bank fishing. And I think my first night in the studio, that first session was like 9.5 hours. And I left. And the reason I love Kev and I always respect Kev is because me and Kev are a lot alike personality-wise, like as far as, we get down when we get down. But that first night when I walked in the studio, he treated me like I could have been the next Garth Brooks. Like, there was nothing funny going. It was all business, all work, until I busted out the whiskey. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't drinking anything. He was just focused. He was solely working. And I was like, all right, I respect that. You know what I mean? And so we recorded bank fishing, and I posted it online, released it, didn't know nothing about what I was doing, still don't really know nothing about what I'm doing, But we released that song, and I had a couple people reach out wanting to write and different things. Well, then I had, so my background's in construction. I build and remodel homes. And the Cannon County Fair had, for the last couple years previous, had been trying to get me to come build this stage for them. And it was like a free thing. Like, I build the stage and they'll make me a banner, and like my company is sponsoring the fair, so I get like free advertisement in Cannon County. And I never really took them up on the offer. I was busy at work, didn't really have time to go do it. Well, when I released Bank Fishing and they emailed me for like the second or third year in a row asking me to come build this stage, I called the fair director and I was like, hey, I don't mind coming to build the stage, but instead of a sponsorship, I would like to close opening night. Like I want me and my band to come play opening night. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. We've been trying to find somebody to do opening night anyways. And ended up, they got somebody else entirely to build the stage. And we were just going to play opening night. And so at that point, I didn't have a band or anything. And somebody sent me a list of phone numbers. And James, who's my producer, manager, best friend, everything in the world now, means more to me than I can put into words, really. But he was like the third or fourth number on this list of phone numbers that I got from a guy. And he was the first person that I texted about playing guitar for me and that like answered back. And we played that first show, and it was funny because we played that first show and we were supposed to go on at like 7:30, but they were having like a beauty pageant before. And like me and Jane, like all of my band was full of degenerates like myself. So like we're all there and we're like drinking whiskey in this tent. And inside this tent, it's 120 degrees. The stage is built all out of metal. So all you can hear is just rattling. You can't hear any music, anything. And so we get up on stage and we're supposed to play like a 3-hour set. I think we're supposed to play from 7 to 10. And we didn't get on stage until like 8:30. And we made it through like, I think on a 3-hour set, I think I had 30 songs planned to play. I think we made it through 7 or 8 songs. And I couldn't hear anything because, like I said, the walls were metal, the roof was metal, the floor was wood, but everything around us was metal. So every time somebody hit a bass drum or anything, all you could hear was metal just rattling. And so finally, I just looked up and I was like, hey, we're done. And we walked off stage, my first show ever. And me and James and somebody else went in the back and we were smoking. And dude comes up and like they were going to give me $100. I was paying my band $150 a person for a 5-piece band. So I'm in this thing like $600. The fare was giving me $100. So like I wasn't tripping on missing out on $100 anyways. But we're smoking and we get the little doobie put out or whatever. And dude pulls up on this golf cart, like fucking whips it in on us and shit. And he's like, y'all need to get out of here if we call the police, blah, blah, blah. So I got kicked out on my first show ever. But all that to just like a full circle situation. James, the guy who I got his phone number, we stayed in contact over a few years. Like COVID happened, all that. Music kind of took a back burner to my life. I had another daughter and I run a construction business. So all that kind of got pushed up to the side so I could focus on raising my kids and having a life. And me and James stayed in touch and bank fishing and another couple of songs that are going to be on this first record we released. He was working with another artist and he wanted to know if they could cut the songs. And I was like, yeah, that's all good. And then they asked if I'd be willing to write some more on the record. And I was like, yeah. And James told me I swear it was 2 or 3 years. James told me, bro, you're nothing but a writer. You're just one of the best writers I know, but you just need to focus on being a writer. And that's all you're ever going to be. James is like, I love it now because, we're where we're at and we talk about it and laugh about it all the time. But then that person that was going to cut those songs, I told James in the middle of all that, I thought he was trying to put lipstick on a pig because that person had a following and had this, that, and the other. But I write my music about my life and sure, somebody else can sing it, but I feel it, And so it never sounded the same. And, then, about another year goes by and I have my second child and I'm focused on, doing my thing and take some time off music. And I come back and me and James go really hard into trying to get some music out. And then before Christmas 2025, we finally had everything done and we're going to release music and stuff. And then, I don't know, about a week before Christmas, James called me late one night and he was like, hey, bro, do you want X and X and this to happen? And I was honestly asleep. It was a voicemail and a text message I woke up to the next morning. And I called him back and finally talked to him. And he had somebody willing to... James finally believed in me and somebody else finally believed in me, and we'll leave it at that. And now all the stuff that I've been working on for 5 or 6 years is going to be way bigger than I ever imagined. And I'm doing it in a different way than I ever imagined. I always thought, I would be in the situation I'm in. I never thought it would be with somebody that I knew, or like, it's very full circle, you know what I mean? And like all I've been able to think about lately, and it's very weird, you see those memes and stuff all the time about how like you give up right before you get there, or like, just ironic stuff. And in my situation, I don't know everybody's situation, but it really is that, you know what I mean? I never once really thought about giving up. And it's always because I felt like I was right there, you know what I mean? But also, it's a thing to where, like, I never thought about giving up, but other people never thought we would be in a situation that we are. And I'm not like a manifest person, but whatever you call it, I manifested what's happening right now. I said, since I recorded Bank Fishing in 2020 the first time, I have said, I'm going to do this. This is what's happening. And it's taken longer and taking more time, but everything I've said that would happen has happened, and we're just waiting on this real big stuff.
I'd rather be sitting on a bank fishing with a nice cold drink. I'm slowly sipping every last drop till every thought of you is gone. I'll stay right here from dusk till dawn.
So 2018, so Bank Fishing I probably actually wrote in 2019. 2018, I found out I was having my first daughter. I started writing some stuff. And then once I had my first daughter, I was actually going to move. I had started working on putting a contract and stuff on a piece of land in Wyoming. I was going to move. There was a mountain range, 80 acres, sitting between two mountains, backed up to wildlife managed land. I was gone. And then my little girl's mom called me and told me that she was pregnant or whatnot. And so we tried to get back together, tried to work that out. And I come from a big family. She doesn't come from a big family. So her family, her only family that she knew was in Florida. And we were both living with my parents at the time. And she was threatening to take my daughter and move to Florida. And I was like, no, you're not. So I took the money I had and I rented a house. And I rented a 4-bedroom house. And I moved in. She moved in. My sister moved in. And we had my little girl. Well, then a few months go by and me and her just can't figure it out, can't get along, nothing's working out. And I'm at work one day with my cousin and I'm getting ready to head home, and she's just all day, every day, she's texting me, just bitching, nagging, raising hell, giving me shit. But I grew up building houses outside, like, my best friend outside of like music, like that is just my friend that I've known for life, is 12 years older than me. You know what I mean? I grew up on a construction site with grown men. I'm not listening to a bunch of crying about dumb shit every day. Like, if you're not dying, you're okay. So she's texting me all day, just raising hell, bitching and shit. And finally, like, I was like, you know what? I've had enough. And I dropped my cousin off at home, and I was like, I'm going home and I'm going to handle this. And before I even got home, the police were at my house. And I pull into my driveway, and there's 6 or 7 police outside. And I get out of my truck and I walk up to dude, and he's like, we heard gunshots, or somebody said they heard gunshots. And I'm like, well, it wasn't me. I just got here. And he was like, well, do you have a gun? And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, where's that? And I was like, well, man, look, my gun's in the glove box, and there is a shell missing from my gun. I did shoot it a couple of days ago, so there is one spent casing in there. And so he goes and gets my gun and whatnot, and he looks at it, and they go upstairs and talk to her and whatnot. And he comes back down. He was like, well, the report was 7 gunshots, so it's not you. And they ended up kicking her out of my house and making her leave because, we couldn't get along. And I showed them messages. They showed her message, she showed them messages, and it was like, okay, yeah, she's crazy, I'm crazy, we're both crazy, don't need to be here. The house is in my name. She had to leave. You know what I mean? Well, while all that's going on, they're interviewing her. At that time, I had been every morning, like I said, I do construction. So in the summertime, we're at work at sunrise. But before sunrise, I'm at the bank, I'm at the lake, I'm fishing. At lunchtime, I'm fishing. As soon as work's over, I'm fishing. I'm doing everything to stay out of the house and away from her. And just like, I'm there with I'll play with my kid, do that thing, and I don't want nothing to do with her. So I'm fishing and working. And so while the police are upstairs talking to her, I'm like, the whole time, man, I'd rather just be fishing than here arguing with her. I should have never came home. I'd rather be sitting on the bank fishing. Like, I don't have a boat. Always been too broke for a boat, so I'd rather be bank fishing. You know what I mean? And I sat there on my steps while they were kicking her out of my house and making her pack her stuff and everything. And it was me and my old lady couldn't get along. Work hard all day, fight all night long, and then the rest of it came out. And I took it, like I said earlier, I took it to Kev. There was like 5 or 6 songs I showed him that first time, and he was like, no, this one is. And so far, that one song, I've done a bunch of music, and I've showed a bunch of people a lot of music, but that one song has opened up every door that I've needed it to open. And it's insane, because James, Lord bless him, he's been doing music forever, and he's always like, bro, how the fuck, I've been doing music forever, and the first time you go in the studio, you just fucking like, and to me, it doesn't feel like that. You know what I mean? I feel like how has nobody written the song? You know what I mean? But it's like that with every song. How has nobody wrote this? Because there's so much good music. There's so many talented people. And like, I'm always the first to say, I'm like I'm nowhere near the talent that a lot of people are in Nashville, talent wise, as far as like, their singing ability or, guitar playing ability, producing ability. There's people way, way more talented. But I believe in myself a lot more than anybody could ever possibly think about. Anybody believe in themselves. And I think and I'm willing to work. I'm willing to work all day, every day. And hard work outweighs talent 9 times out of 10. And so that's, that's how bank fishing came along. Just hard work. It had nothing to do with talent or nothing like that. People I kept on and kept on pushing the issue. Kind of like I did with everything else. I just wouldn't take no for an answer.
Got a video for you to watch. Just tell me what you see on that video.
Well, I'm raising hell. I got me a couch on the back of this gator right here. And I'm driving it like I stole it. Like, I'm pretty sure these folks have had these gators. Now, again, I'm more on the white trash side of rich, you know what I'm saying? And so these people with this gator were more on the white class side of rich. And I'm pretty sure that gator ain't never been drove like that before in his life. But I drove the plumb hell out of it. And I had a lot of fun doing it.
All right. Perfect. Swipe right.
All right.
And let's do one more.
Oh, where she's throwing stuff at me?
Tell me what's happening there.
All right, and right here, so I'm arguing with my old lady about what we got going on, because I've been working and she's been trying to call me all day on this little video we're shooting. And she's throwing shoes and shit at me, which is like, pretty accurate to my life. Like, that's what happens, I work hard and then I get treated like I'm a piece of shit because I would rather work than answer your text message. But my response. So why don't you text me back or why don't you call me back is, babe, if this was 1972 and they didn't have cell phones, wasn't nobody calling and texting then. I'm just going to show up when I show up, and either you got to deal with it or you don't. And so nowadays, what's the deal? I don't dig it. I mean, if you text and talk all day, you ain't got nothing to talk about when you get home. I don't like it.
I feel like a real chill, laid back guy, doing 40 and a 50, got smoke in my eyes. Sometimes I gotta unwind, throw it to the floor, let some horses run wild.
Tell me about horses.
All right, so horses actually is a funny story. So we recorded bank fishing. After that night, I was head over heels. Like I said, fell in love with recording music. And I went home, and I didn't intend on being in the studio as long as I was. And Kev, at that time, I was paying by the hour, not by the song. Like I said, very new to music. So I only had so much money with me to pay him for the session that we done for bank fishing. So I had to go back like a few days later and give him the rest of the money. And when I went back, he was like working on this little beat. And we started writing a song then, and it wasn't horses. It was a completely different song. But when I went home from that, I was like, I need to start writing all day, every day. Like, I just need to write all the time. That way, if somebody has a beat, something, I can show up and I have something ready. So I went home and I sat down on my couch, and like around this time, like I had never done mushrooms before or anything in my life. Around this time, I started tripping mushrooms, and like I don't do it often and didn't do it often, but the first time I tripped was like what led me to be like, I felt like I could touch the stars, and I was like, if I can touch the stars, I can do country music. So like I went to the studio, you know what I'm saying? So me and my buddy are sitting there like a couple weeks later, like I said, and we had a couple mushrooms, and I just started writing, and I wrote this song, Little Blue Igloo, that it's been released. It's been pulled back down now, and we'll probably release it again later on in the future. But it was a song about my grandfather, and I was like crying writing this song about my grandfather, just about, our times fishing, riding around with him and stuff like that. Well, then my grandfather also gave me the 1986 Chevy C10. And when I remember when I was a kid, we would pull out of his driveway and he would slam on the gas, and he'd be like, sometimes you just gotta let the horses run wild. And so I'm crying writing this song, Little Blue Igloo, about my grandfather. And then I remember that my grandfather saying, sometimes you just gotta let them horses run wild. And so trying to still be on track with my grandfather, but still trying to write, I wrote Little Blue Igloo and Horses within 5 minutes of each other, every lyric. And that's how it came about. And then I took it, the next time I went to Kev's, to the studio, to record another song. We were gonna record the stuff we wrote that night. He was making that beat, and then I showed him Horses, and he was like, dude, what the fuck? And so we recorded that, and that was the second song I ever recorded. And people loved it just as much. As a matter of fact, I had another vocal coach at one point in time before me and James and Katie started working together real heavy. His name is Ron Browning, and he's an older gentleman. He's probably in his 80s now, but he worked with Elvis. Let's just say that. You know what I mean? He's an older guy, super cool. And Horses is more of like a fast-paced country song. It's got some like hip-hop kind of, people say I rap in it. I don't think I rap. I think I just talk how I talk, because I talk fast sometimes. But it's his favorite song because it's got like a jazz. I guess the piano has a jazz kind of thing to it, and he plays jazz piano, and he loves it. So that's cool to me. You know what I mean? Like I was saying earlier, everybody's got a different favorite. You know what I mean? But the Horses, for somebody older and jazz music to love it like he does, to me it's more of a fast-paced country. I don't almost consider it country because it feels rappy, but that's what they say. You know what I mean?
All right, another video for you.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
All right, man. Tell me what's happening.
I am shooting a flamethrower, about to blow up this F-150. So in the second verse of Horses, I say, a little buzz one night leaving Aldean's. That old Ford spent a mile eating branches and leaves. So I had, at the time that I wrote that song, I was driving a 94 model square body Ford F-150 metal. It was like a cream color. And the fuel pump had went out on me a couple times driving it. And one night, me and my cousin, they went to Jason Aldean's bar downtown, and we've been partying all night long. And when we left there, we were riding in my truck, and I took him home. I went to Waffle House. This was pre-COVID when I had this truck, so Walmart was still open 24/7. So like after a good night of partying on Broadway, I'd hit Waffle House and I'd go walk around Walmart for 2 or 3 hours, sober up, before I just make any crazy, irrational decisions. And so I'd done all that, and then I'm on my way home, and where my family lives in Smyrna, one of the ways to get there, there's a road, and the name of the road is 1 Mile Lane. And in this road, you go over a bridge called Monkey Woman Bridge. Before you go over that bridge, the road, it's not like a 90-degree turn, but the road has like it's not real sharp if your car's working right, but it just has like a hook in it, just like a real quick deep. And so I'm driving straight, and all of a sudden, I know my fuel pump went out. And so my truck lost all power, and then it has that little hook. So instead of me being able to make that little hook, I don't have any power steering. I just keep going straight in this ditch. And where they had poured the asphalt on the road, there's like a side, so 1 mile lane goes like this, and there's a side street coming here. Well, where they poured that asphalt on this side street, they over poured it right here. There's no shoulder on 1 mile lane. It's just the end of the road, then a ditch. Well, where they poured this road, they had poured like a little 16 inches over, like it was just like overspill basically. And so when I went off the road, I hit that and it shot my truck up into the air, and this branch caved the fucking passenger side of my truck in. And then my truck's just rolling. And luckily, I was going fast enough, which I had to have been going faster than the speed limit, sadly. But I was going fast enough that I hit this thing, went up in the air, hit this tree, and the road from the overpour is still right here on my left. So as I hit this tree, I look at it and I jerk my steering wheel left, and I roll onto this side road, roll down in a ditch and up into these people's yard. It's like fucking 5:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? I'm only a mile and a half from home. And I'm like, okay, I'm not staying here. I'm walking home. Like, I'm not, police are not catching this. I will sleep under this bridge. Like, I'm not going to jail. So next thing I know, I look up and I see headlights coming towards me, and I'm like, fuck, you know, and dude pulls up and he's like in like a Toyota Prius or some shit. And he's like, hey man, I just seen everything that's happened. Do you need a ride home? And I was like, fuck yeah. So I hop in the truck and he takes me home. And the next day my cousin gets in another truck and tows me home. But so that video of me lighting that truck I lit on fire, that old Ford spent a mile eating branches and leaves, was when I ran the truck off in the ditch on 1 mile lane, totaled my truck. And now it's been burnt to the ground because it's a piece of shit. That's why.
All right, swipe right. What's happening now?
It started in the middle of the video. Let's see. All right, this one I'm breaking my guitar. So we shot a badass video. In the burning of this truck, the truck wasn't supposed to burn all the way to the ground. The motor in the truck was very, very good, very reliable. There's nothing wrong with the motor. My dad has another 94 model F-150 we were going to put the motor in, and we just didn't have time to pull it. So our intention was to light this truck on fire and then put the fire out before it burnt the truck to the ground. Well, we lit this truck on fire, and in the middle of performing, I look at James and I'm like, yeah, we got to put this fire out. And we throw everything down, we grab fire extinguishers and we go to put the fire out, and the fire goes out. It don't work. So my dad is there, my whole family's there, and my dad is like, he's not mad, but he's like disgusted, you know what I mean? And he tells me he's sick to his stomach, and I love my dad very much. I have the best parents in the world. Me and my daddy are very close, you know what I mean? And so for him to be upset, sad, whatever he was, it broke my heart. Well, I was also like hot as shit because there was a truck blowing up behind me. We're shooting fireworks. I'm trying to sing this song and record this video before the truck melts. And so I'm out of breath. I'm hot. So I chug a bottle of water. And my dad's mad. I just chugged a bottle of water. My stomach's hurting. I go over here and start puking. And everybody's like, Hank, we need you to come back. We need you to do this. We need you to do that. And I'm like, okay, I got you. And finally, they're like, we just need you to break the guitar. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I grabbed the guitar and I smashed this sumbitch and I chucked it as far as I could. And I think I actually done it a couple times. But at the point of breaking the guitar, because my dad was upset and I just got done throwing up, I had been shooting videos all day in the hot sun. The guitar got everything that I wanted to give anybody else. It was great. It felt good. It looked good. It was a great time.
Never knew how much I'd miss being redneck rich. Give me a pack, 40 acres on the house.
Redneck Rich.
Redneck Rich. So, like I was saying, I have I own a construction company. Well, owned. I walked away from it not too long ago, but I've done construction my whole life. First time I got kicked out of school when I was 6 or 7 years old, my dad took me to work with him, and I've done that every summer, every spring break, fall break, winter break, my whole life. So I always had a pocket full of money, and I played football in high school and went to college, and I dropped out of college just to do construction work. It sounds awesome, right? Well, I didn't know it, but a lot of the ways I made a lot of connections that I made in music was through construction. Bank fishing done a lot for me, but then I'd work in neighborhoods like Franklin, and the guy next door would be a songwriter. For instance, like on Redneck Rich, it's a prime example. I'm working in Franklin. I'm building like a back porch patio kitchen area. And the guy next door, I noticed he had on his back porch, he had like this bench. It was like instead of a rocking chair, it was a rocking bench. And it said Nestler, and it had 2 guitars on it. And I told my dad, I was like, I bet that guy does music. And a couple of days go by, we were working over there for a while, a few weeks, doing a lot of work. And a couple of days goes by or whatever, and I hear guitars and stuff playing in the house. And so later on the day, I'm walking out to the front of the house to the truck to get some tools, and Mark comes walking out. And I'm like, hey, man, I heard y'all jamming over there. It sounds good, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, yeah, I'm a songwriter. That's what I do for a living. And I was like, well, I kind of figured, I seen the bench or whatnot. And I was like, man, that's actually what I'm trying to, the door I'm trying to get my foot in, And I was like, I'd love to show you some music sometime, and maybe we can write. And then he was like, yeah, just leave me something right here on my bench, and I'll get to it. And, 9 times out of 10, you're not getting a call back or nothing like that. So, but at the time, I had just started releasing music, so I had, you don't pass out CDs anymore, but because nobody listens to CDs. But I took and I printed 1 by 1, so 1 foot by 1 foot, my album covers. I printed them off, I laminated them, and I put a QR code on them. And I would just go around town and slap them on like drive-through gas pumps, whatever. And I had one in my car, so I set it on his bench that had the Nestler thing on it on his front porch. And then, I don't know, I was done working over there. It's probably a month or 2 later, I get an email, and it's like, hey, man, got to check out your music. Sounds great. Do you want to write this day and this day? And I'm like, fuck yeah, still don't have any idea who Mark is. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to. And so we set up the date to write, and I've been writing with another buddy of mine, Bo Barkley. And I was like, hey, you want to come on this write with me? And he's like, yeah. So on the way there, like, I look up who Mark is, and Mark's got like #1 hits for George Strait, Tim McGraw, Billy Carrington, Luke Bryan. He's the songwriter, you know what I mean? And I'm like, shit. So I'm like, I got to go in this some kind of idea. I'm not a very good guitar player. Like, I don't want to blow this opportunity. So I start thinking of shit on the way there. And in my head, I had give me a back 40 acres on the outskirts of town where the crickets and the turkey and the deer all hang out. And so I went to Mark, and me and Mark had this like 2 or 3 hour conversation before Bo even shows up. And Mark is a big melody guy. He does the guitar and the melodies and all that. And I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, look, I'm not a guitar guy at all. I do lyrics. And he was like, but you write with like cadence, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'll sing you a poem, but like, that's how I write. And so we spent 8 hours there, and we put this song together. He was in the middle of doing Zach Top's record, but they were in the middle of doing all that, and he was writing that, and he was telling me all about Zach. And he's got 20 #1 plaques on his wall right here, you know what I mean? And the whole time I'm just looking at him like, oh my gosh. And so we get this song done, and him and his wife cook barbecue for us, and we talk about me and him and church and life and all that stuff. And Mark's actually one of the reasons I never went and looked for a publishing deal or a record deal or any of that, because Mark, like I said, he's got multiple #1 hits and this, that, and the other. And I was telling him, I've never tried to get a publishing deal. I've never went and tried to do any of that, but I want to do this and not my construction thing. So I've been looking at that as an option because they give you a big advance and this, that, and the other. And he's like, man, if I was you, I wouldn't worry about learning the guitar. I wouldn't worry about it. He's like, I would just keep being you and keep doing your thing, and you're going to be all right. And he's like, dude, I've been in Nashville since 70s or 80s or whatever. And he's like, you see all the song #1s I've got. And he was like, he's like, I signed my last, he's like, I'm going to leave my last publishing deal that he was in the red. And in that time of being that publishing deal, he had 2 or 3 number ones. And he was like, dude, that's not, so he like, at that moment, I decided I'm not actively looking for a publishing deal. If somebody was to offer me one and it made sense, cool, but I've also owned a business my whole adult life, so I'm not going to let nobody screw me, you know what I mean? But so that's how Redneck Rich came about. It was just, didn't care about the money, don't care about anything else. Write a song about what you would love. If you could just have what you wanted, that you really wanted, and it was everything you needed, what would that be? And that'd be that back 40 acres, my family, that mom and pop restaurant, the little 4-wheeler, you know what I mean? Like, that's life, you know what I mean? If I could have that every day without having to go work 12 hours a day, that's Redneck Rich. You know what I mean? That's where it comes from.
Oh, yeah. All right. So tell me what you're seeing.
So here we're shooting a video for Redneck Rich, and we're at my grandmother's house. And last year on my daughter's birthday, we had her a party, and I bought like 20 water guns. And the kids over there, while we're shooting the videos for Redneck Rich and horses, we had the family over there, and we were going to grill out and stuff. And they found the water guns. So we had a water gun war, and they chased me around, about gave me a damn heart attack.
It's pretty funny because I almost showed the clip where you're like, yes, no, I can't.
Dude, I was dead, bro. I was so dead.
Okay, so play this next one.
Yeah, so we're there. We're having I'm cooking burgers. Like I said, the whole family's there. My family, James' family, the video guys, everybody's there. It's my grandmother's birthday. She told me she never had a birthday party, so I'm trying to throw a party for her while we're shooting videos. And we cooked 25 cheeseburgers on a Blackstone. And we had everybody over there singing after the water gun wars and stuff. And we're just cooking, having a good time. Being Redneck Rich. You got your family there. You got your truck. You got the cheeseburgers. Everything's good. You don't need we don't need $1 million. We don't need a house on the hills. We don't need a Lamborghini. I just need this little F-150, my kids smiling, and my friends there. We're Redneck Rich. So that's what that is.
It's funny because like they were trying to get your daughter's attention, so she would look at the camera. She's just glued on you. Like you just couldn't.
Oh, that's my best friend, dude. That is my girl, bro. She loves my music more than anybody, bro. She gets mad if we don't listen to it while riding around.
Got a 75 Mercury on full plane, heading to a swinger spot on the lake. She's got my Ray-Bans on and the wind in her hair. Not a worry in the world, no, ain't got a care.
Tell me about Chasing Bass.
So Chasing Bass is a song after you've been doing music a lot and you've wrote a lot of songs about your life and everything that's going on. Sometimes you just got to write a song just for the sake of writing a song. And at the time I was booking a lot of rights and I was doing a lot of writers rounds, and Bo, same guy I wrote Redneck Rich with, and multiple other songs. He's one of my favorite people to write with. But one day I had this idea, and it was getting about spring when she walked in and I was loading up the truck again. I already knew what she was about to ask. I went ahead and told her I was chasing bass. And it was kind of just like a play on words. Instead of chasing ass, I'm chasing bass, you know what I mean? And that's about as far as I got with it, really. I sent it to a buddy of mine, Will, who plays keys and organ on all of our stuff. He's a real big into fishing. He's one of the best fishermen you'll ever meet. And I sent it to him, and he was like, yeah, I love this. So me and Bo got him. I went to Bo's house one day, and we wrote it. And he came up with, the hook and the taglines and all that. And I loved every second of it. And that's pretty much that's one of the more simpler stories. It's not really a story behind it. It's just we were going to write a song that day, and that's the idea I had, and that's what we wrote. It's midnight Montgomery. So my aunt, and I have some family from Dyin, Alabama. There's a podcast out there where I talk all about it. If you look hard enough, you'll find it. But basically, Dyin, Alabama is this big. You would never know it was there unless you knew somebody that lived there. But at one point in time, my uncle and aunt owned or leased every piece of land in this little city or town, county, whatever. And I would go down there as a kid, and he was a farmer for a living, so he would raise green beans and tomatoes and all that, and we'd go down there and help him pick beans and stuff. So he passed away, I don't know, 8-10 years ago. But my aunt, she was on hospice, not doing well, about a year and a half ago, and I hadn't been down there since I was 15 or 16. Because when I used to go down there every summer, and then when I started playing sports and high school ball and stuff, you got to be around for practice. It wasn't that I didn't want to go down there, I just didn't have time. So she got sick, and we called them cornbread and taters, because every time we went down there, we'd have she'd home cooked meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for every lunch and dinner, we had cornbread and fried taters. So we called, she was cornbread, my Uncle Reeves was taters, you know. And my grandmother called me one day and said she wasn't doing good, and she was on hospice. And so we went down there. And on the way down there, like, one of the best times you can write music, you can write lyrics anytime about anything going on in your life, but to me, it comes easier when I travel, because it's a different scene. I can really think about what's going on. So the whole way there, I'm like thinking, like, you know, what can I write? How can I, you know, something cool, blah, blah, blah. And the first time I went out, I couldn't really think of nothing. But when I got there, she loved this song I have, Little Blue Igloo, again, that I wrote the same time I wrote Horses, that'll come out later on. So I sang it to her, and she was in hospice, completely unresponsive, but she was twisting her legs, like dancing, trying to do the twist. So on the way back, I'm still trying to think and think and think. And it's like midnight, and I still can't get nothing. Well, then about 3 or 4 days goes by, and they call and tell us that she's passed away. She was on hospice. So I told my grandmother, my mom and my grandmother had rented a car to drive down there, and I told her on the way back that, like, I ended up driving us back because their rental car, the first time, because their rental car it was a piece of shit. But I told my grandmother on the way back, like, hey, if something happens to Aunt Anna, let me know, and me and Remy, I'll drive us down there. And so she calls me, and so I load up the car, and I start driving down there with Remy, my daughter, and my grandmother passed out on the way down there. And I started thinking to myself, like, you know, I've done drove through Alabama twice at night, and we don't even go through Montgomery to get there, but for songwriting purposes, it worked. You know what I mean? And so there's a bunch of pine trees in Montgomery, Alabama, and all that. And so I just started thinking about what I was passing, what I was seeing. And then, so at midnight Montgomery, whispering through the pines, like it was all just, you know, stuff. And then Alan Jackson has a song, Midnight Montgomery, that's about Hank Williams Sr., and I never heard it. And I'd never heard it at that point. But I start looking up on my phone, like Midnight Montgomery, and it plays. And it's like this whole song about Hank Sr., and like what I had written was like this whole thing about like how I know my life, like I'm just lost in life. I'm partying, I'm living too hard, I'm doing what I want to do, and I know there's an answer to it, but I don't know what's going on. And it just all, after I listened to that Alan Jackson, Midnight Montgomery, it all came together that just like, as I'm driving through Alabama at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm looking at these pine trees, and I'm thinking about music, and I'm thinking about my life and everything that's happened. Like, it just feels like someone's there telling me, like, I've done this before. I've lived this life, and this is where you're headed if you don't stop. And the more and more I thought about it, you know what I mean? I'm like, this song, it's Midnight Montgomery. It's about Hank Sr. That's what it is. He lived, I was 29 when I wrote the song. He was 29 when he died. Living the same almost lifestyle verbatim. He's a lot bigger superstar at 29 than I'm nothing, you know what I mean? But like, as far as I'm living my life like a rock star, and I'm not even a rock star, you know what I'm saying? So I seen where my life could be going if I didn't hit the brakes, and that's what that whole song is about.
All right, so what do you, like, kind of closing thought, like, what are you most proud of with this song, with this album? Like, what are you hoping that people kind of get, or like what do you want them to think about or remember or know or whatever?
I'm most proud of, I'm proud, what I'm most proud of is I feel like everybody in my team is proud of it, if that makes sense. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not the best guitar player. I don't know much about production. I don't know shit about shooting videos. I write lyrics about my life, and I sing kind of decently, I'm told. You know what I mean? And I feel like the reason my music is so good and people love it is because when I take it to someone like James or Kev or somebody and they ask me what I want, I don't tell him how to produce the song. I don't tell him how to play guitar. I don't tell the video guy to do the video. I don't tell the drum player how to play drums. I say, here, I'm going to sing you this poem that I wrote, and then whatever you feel, just play that. And that's kind of how it all worked out. So I'm proud that I was able to bring something to somebody that I was proud of. And then he was able to take it and show it to other people, and they all got to put in something to it that they're proud of. And now that one thing that I was proud of that they're all proud of is opening big doors for because if it opens the door for me, I'm very loyal. If it opens the door for me, it opens the door for everybody. So I'm proud that this one thing that I was proud of and this one little dream that I had has turned into something that this guy's proud of, and this guy's proud of, and this guy's proud of, and this guy's proud of. And then this guy's so proud of that he's like, hey, I want to see a bunch more of that, and let's put that out. That's what I'm more proud of than it.
Just sitting on the